Innovation. It's the lifeblood of medical advancement and the key to raising the bar for patient care. Yet the system of medical innovation in the U.S. is in dire need of treatment, and the situation is critical. In fact, more and more inventors are going outside the U.S. to have even a chance for success. Because here the path to market is fraught with obstacles that hinder the development of new ideas. That's why the nonprofit Fogarty Institute for Innovation was created, to reinvent the process of innovation.
The purpose of the Fogarty Institute essentially was to create an environment where we could cost-effectively develop technology that would benefit patients. That is the purpose of what we do. The environment in the early 1960s was quite different than what it is now. The first balloon catheter, which we developed, cost exactly about $2,000. Now, a current example of a technology would be the drug-coated stent. The cost of the stent was exactly $2 billion.
Dr. Thomas Fogarty's legendary reputation as a physician and innovator has drawn many young entrepreneurs to the Institute. The Fogarty Institute for Innovation is located in Mountain View, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley. The facility is housed on the campus of El Camino Hospital, where the spirit of innovation is alive and well-equipped. The Institute provides access to expert intellectual, physical, and financial resources that can help propel medical concepts from initiation to application.
Innovation is very interesting. It's a matter of observation. But if we don't really innovate and take chances, which is what you have to do to innovate, you never move forward. And when you look at what we're lacking in the field of medicine, we have to recognize that we are not doing the best job, all of us. So if we're going to change or make things better for patients, essentially what we have to do is innovate. So in medicine, changing technology requires us to take advantage of it. And if we don't, we're not benefiting patients. So innovation is part of what we should do as physicians. We cannot do the things the same way, the same people, and do it all the time, or else we won't move forward. Mentorship is very important. I was fortunate enough at a very early age to have the opportunity to work in a hospital environment right out of grade school. One of the physicians kind of took me under his wing and encouraged me to quit doing what I was doing, which wasn't a very productive environment. And essentially I was boxing as a boxer. And he said to me, you don't have to knock your brains out to make a living. And he encouraged me. In fact, he was very, very important in the development of the balloon catheter. I'd observed surgeries and things weren't working, particularly taking blood clots out. He'd turn to me and say, "Tom, this isn't working, let's make it work." And so we pursued on making it work. And that was the origin of the balloon catheter. And all along the way, he encouraged me and guided me and helped me gain access to the things I needed to actually produce the catheter. And if you're in the environment where there's a lot of mentors, it works quite well. And I was fortunate enough to be in environments where there were a lot of very good mentors. Basically, to really innovate well, you have to be in an environment where innovation occurs. And sometimes that environment is difficult to find. Sometimes the environment really isn't conducive to innovation. So what we do is we create an environment here at the Fogarty Institute where innovation is encouraged, it's rewarded, and it makes it a lot more fun to be in an environment where there are other innovators, because you feed on one another and you encourage one another. You get information from one another. And so I think it's very important to have these people working together in the same environment. if you're going to be innovative, you're going to displace things. And when you create something, something leaves. So you both create and you also destroy. Those who you're destroying will not like it. So you'll meet a lot of resistance. And that occurs with every innovator. In a process of innovation, the most important thing is to be persistent. Do not give up. If it's a worthwhile goal, you must pursue it, and sometimes that's difficult to do because you will be discouraged. The origin of the balloon catheter is a good example. When you discover something in the field of medicine, you usually publish it for the benefit of the other physicians. The balloon catheter was so outlandish that we could not get that published, even though my mentor, who was a very well-established vascular physician, could not get it into any journal. So it was turned down by 3 major medical journals. Finally, the 4th one did publish it, but it took 3 years to get it in publication. The publication was what is called Surgeon at Work. Take a blood clot out, we made very large incisions. We used general anesthesia, and it was done that way all the time, even though when you occluded a blood vessel back in the early 60s, 50% of the time the patient died, or 50% of the time the patient had an amputation. Despite that, the balloon catheter was not widely accepted, even though it was obvious that it was better than what we used to do all the time. So that's an example of how it's difficult to displace the old. When you innovate in the field of medicine, it's risk-benefit that you have to evaluate. Now, what's a risk to one person may not be a risk. What's a benefit to one person may not be a benefit. So it's a very personal, difficult decision. So it's not just a physician's decision, it should be the patient's decision. It's not just the decision of our regulatory bodies to make that decision. It's a patient's decision, and that has to be emphasized and pursued whenever you're going to innovate. The patient, the patient, the patient. Not yourself, not yourself. If patients have confidence in their physician, they usually will do what the physician thinks is what they should do. But you have to become close to the patient. You have to make them understand that you're really there to help them in the best way possible. And you must do that. If they think they're going to be the subject of an experience, an experiment, they don't like it. The innovation must occur in close proximity to a hospital where patients are taken care of. And you have an opportunity to really look at how patients are taken care of with the help of the hospital. And so I think it's absolutely critical to be close in an environment where people do promote innovation. And they allow the people that are innovating to have access to the patients, to the physicians. And that's why we're here at El Camino Hospital. It's a private hospital. Total focus is optimal patient care. Innovators really fit well in an environment where everybody is focused on optimal patient care. In the field of medicine, it's become very complex. One specialty does not know everything about everything. One physician or a group of physicians do not know everything about everything. You need ancillary personnel, you need engineers, you need physicists, all different kinds of engineers, electrical engineers are critically important. And so you never know who you're going to need, but you can find out who you need, and then you must seek those people out to be part of the team. And if you're reticent to do that, you're not going to be a good innovator. We do not all know everything. Most of us know very little about something. You must accept that. Accept your own deficiencies and get help. It's very interesting. The thing that brings most benefit is usually technologies that are very, very unusual. They're a very, very different approach. And to get that through the regulatory body has been extremely difficult. And so I would really request that in Japan you understand and take advantage of what we have learned in the United States. You need regulation, but the regulation should be reasonable. We have to understand that we are all here to benefit patients, not to argue with one another. Good ideas come from anybody at any time and from anywhere. When you're trained for as long as a surgeon is trained, or an internist or a cardiologist, you think you know everything. Well, you don't. You're just beginning. And we're not perfect just because we've been to school for 18 to 20 years training to be a physician. We are not. We're just beginning. So the learning process continues long after you graduate from any school. We're working with the Japanese companies because I think they have come to understand that innovation is very, very important if you're going to move forward. ASO's here, Mitsubishi's here, Terumo's here. So it really tells us the Japanese want to be part of the process from beginning to end. And innovation is the beginning. So they want to know how that does, how it started, how to make it work. And so they're here to learn that. They bring a lot to us. They're all very intelligent and hardworking people. HeartFlow has done what we need to do. It has improved patient care and reduced costs all at the same time. What that technology does is tell us about how well the blood is circulating in the coronary arteries, which supply the heart the nutrients needed to beat. What we had done traditionally was take what we call an angiogram, and that tells you where the obstructions are. It does not tell you what the reduction in flow is, which is a most important thing that we have to know. So it gives us both the anatomy from a CT scan, but it also gives us the flow reduction. That is the real thing that we need to know. And this documents it. In the process of documenting it, it eliminates a lot of studies that are unnecessary because of this technology becoming available. That is a huge cost saving that occurred because of improved technology. Those are the kinds of things that we have to do. And we have to do it right now. Well, innovation really is very important. You know, we as physicians, particularly surgeons, we help one patient at a time, which is very gratifying. Everybody's happy, the patient, the family, relatives. But when you can innovate and develop something, you have the capacity to help many, many patients if the technology is adaptable and other physicians can use it. You multiply the benefit you bring, and that is very rewarding. You have to make up your mind that innovation is important if we're going to improve patient care, and you have to get an environment where people agree with that and help you achieve that goal. We break rules as innovators. We go against standards as innovators. And it's very important that people acknowledge if you're going to improve, you're going to do that.